Hello and welcome to Game Changer Live, brought to you by connorscoaching.com. If you like what we bring, take a moment to log into YouTube for us, like and subscribe to our video, and leave a comment. That will really help us grow. Together, we create this inspired community that shares topics about positivity, coaching, personal development, mindset, and more. We go live every week on Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. and we do this live because we believe it's the way to show our most authentic selves in an unedited version. Um, and we also sometimes bring on guests. So let's get inspired today. My name is Daniel Connor. I'm the owner of Connor's Coaching. I'm also the host of Game Changer Live, and I am a professional certified coach and a proud member of the International Coaching Federation. Stuck people hire me when they're ready to get unstuck, to discover a more fulfilling and purposeful life, and so that every day they wake up to a better version of themselves in the mirror. And today we're going to be talking about goal setting. In fact, you may be wondering what layered goals are and what that means. So we're going to start with defining a goal, right? That's a good place to start for anything. And really, when we're looking at a goal, the way that I want to define it for this show is it's a purposeful intention. It's a purposeful intention, usually with a desired outcome that is made consciously. Okay. So, just to be clear, when we're talking about actual goal setting, we are talking about a purposeful intention, usually with a desired outcome that is made consciously. And there are all sorts of forms of intentions that we make unconsciously. These would be our expectations, our hopes. Sometimes they're on a kind of an in between level. They're both in our subconscious and also in our consciousness, and they're dreams or they're resolutions for New Year's, or they are, um, or they're goals that you set but you don't write down, poorly set goals. So those are forms of intentions that are set kind of outside of the bounds of what we are talking about for this video. When we're talking about this video, we really are, when we're talking about goal setting, we're really just talking about the purposeful, consciously set goals with a desired outcome. Okay. And, you know, I mentioned New Year's resolutions. It's why I'm talking about this right now. This is the time of year where traditionally the US will go out of its way to set unrealistic expectations for itself around body image and whatnot. In fact, if you're watching this video and you're not subscribed to YouTube, which you don't have to be, you might see a commercial, and probably going to see a commercial that has to do with weight loss or diet or nutrition at this time of year, which is January. In fact, New Year's was just 3 days ago. I'm still seeing them. And the reason that this is a missed opportunity for us is that we don't want to fear those goals. But those goals are going to die and wither unless they have the structure to support them and to make them real. So really that means that the fear that we're projecting onto those goals really is kind of a failure of society into creating the right kind of structure for our goals, for goal setting in general. So what we're going to talk about today is my way of setting goals and how I look at it. I look at it as layered. I break my goals down into three different layers. And when I work with my clients on this, I think that this is one of the ways that really changes um, how they go about organizing their life. And, you know, it's not for everyone, but I think that it's worth listening to. So give this a listen. Here we go. So actually, let's go back just 1 second. So I mentioned that goals are everywhere. We have these unconscious expectations, and a really good analogy of this is grocery shopping. If you go to grocery store with a list of all of the items that you need, it's very easy for you to get all of those items. It does take a little bit of investment in the beginning, but having listed out all of those items, you know, generally what you're going to eat and how you're going to get there and what you need to find. And you're not going to be missing anything, and you're not going to be buying a bunch of extra stuff. But if you go to the grocery store and you're winging it, and you're thinking, okay, I know I need to eat some food and I need to get some stuff, you're going to get some staples, you're going to get some regular things, and then you might end up coming home and unpacking and realizing that you have bought your fourth bag of unused frozen peas that you're putting in the fridge, and you've bought 12 cans of beans that you haven't done anything with because you didn't have that list, you didn't have that foresight, you didn't have that created structure to help you do that grocery shopping efficiently. That doesn't mean you are going to go hungry. It just means that it's inconvenient for you. So, really, goals exist everywhere. We just don't call them that. And fearing them isn't going to do us any good. Running away from them isn't going to do us any good. In fact, it could be actually actively harming ourselves. So, what we're going to talk about today is a better way of doing it. And I call this method layered goals. And it starts with the very foundational level of the biggest possible goals. Let's talk about SMART goals before we get there, though, because SMART goals are kind of a business jargon way of saying, that your goals should be, let's see, what does SMART stand for? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Okay, so specific means that it's very narrowly focused and it's very specific. Measurable means that you know that you've achieved it because you can actually tell that you've achieved it through some form of measurement. Attainable means that it's something you can actually do. Relevant means it's something that's meaningful to you. And time bound means that it's constricted within some sort of range of time. Pretty simple. Well, when we're looking at layered goals, we need to create different structures for each layer. So we're going to start with the very fundamental layer. These are our guiding stars. You could also call these stretch goals. You could also call these horizon goals. You could call them, well, you get the idea. Guiding stars is my preferred term just because it doesn't have the word goal in it. And the acronym that I use here is ADO, A-D-O. This is to achieve, desire, and opportunity. So when we're thinking about these goals, these are our big, big dreams. These are the destinations that will change our lives fundamentally. These are things like losing 50 pounds. These are things like saving $500,000. These are things like planning a large vacation trip that maybe spans a couple of continents. These are really groundbreaking things that change you fundamentally. Starting your own business could be one of these types of goals. And it's important when you're setting one of these types of goals that you can picture what that achievement will feel like. So the A for ADO is achievement. And when we're looking at that achievement, we really want to be specific about how we're going to feel when we've achieved it and what that achievement is going to mean for us. The next thing is desire. And this is, why do you want it right now? What is this going to solve? What is this going to change for you? The D for in ADO is for desire. And finally is opportunity. What opportunities is this going to unlock? What future goals is this going to enable you to accomplish? What opportunities do you see this opening up for you? For example, if you set a long-term or a guiding star goal of getting an MBA, then you know that you could potentially have a lot of opportunities in terms of your jobs. Having those clearly defined sets you up for success because those are the reward mechanisms that are built into your goal. Those are the things that are going to drive you. They're also important because there are times in which we set our goals on things to achieve the meanings behind them when we really could achieve those same meanings in other ways. Um, so what I would do at that point is to really analyze your ado, your achievement, your desire, and your opportunity that you've created, and analyze: is there another way to get this? Is there a better way to get this? If that's truly what you want, where else could you achieve it? And it could be that you could achieve it someplace else through less effort. And that doesn't mean that you throw away this goal, but being clear on this part will set you up for success in the long run. The next layer of goals is a milestone. Milestones, I use the abbreviation PAC, PAC. These stand for paced, accountable, and celebrated. Paced means that these are set up as individual steps that lead you towards that big goal. So when we're looking at these layered goals, your big goal is going to have milestones that lead you there. If you want to think about it in terms of a map, the analogy that we've used before is if you're traveling from where I live in Oregon and you're going to drive all the way to New York City, all of the places that you stop along the road to rest, to eat, to potty break, whatever it is, those are all your milestones. And you know you're getting close to New York if you hit each of those milestones along the planned route. This used to be how we planned our routes. Now we have apps that help us do that. But back in the day, you would go to like AAA and you would pull out a big book and you would figure out where in this, how long you could travel on a road at a specific time of year and how far you would get and approximately where you would need to stop. So then you could call a list of AAA hotels and places, and then you would go from there to the next road stop. This is milestoning your goals. So when we're looking at this step, having them paced reasonably so that they're in bite-sized chunks and they're not too far apart from each other will ensure that you don't lose momentum towards the bigger goal as a whole, towards that North Star goal. The next one is accountable. You need to have a way to make sure that you're actually going towards this milestone. Sometimes the milestones don't feel as exciting as the big goal itself, and it's really easy to lose focus. And that's where really being clear on your achievement, desire, and opportunity for your guiding star can help motivate you as a reminder of what it is that you're working towards. So when you've gotten your accountability picture down. Maybe you have someone that you check in with weekly. Maybe you have a coach. Maybe you have a significant other that's also working on this with you. And you decide that you're going to have a weekly check in around this. Good idea. The next layer on this goal is celebrated. How are you going to celebrate completing this goal? How are you going to acknowledge the fact that you hit that milestone? So we have our guiding star, which is a do, achievement, desire, and opportunity. And we have our milestones, which are paced, accountable, and celebrated, or PAC. The final layer breaks down those milestones into specific steps. These would be: I need to pack my bags, book my hotel, call a dog sitter, find a house sitter, etc., right? When you're making these goals, this is where the traditional SMART methodology works because these are specific already. It's already built in. They couldn't be any more specific because they are steps to get to the next milestone. They're measurable. You'll know you're done when you're done with them, right? And you want to make sure that you phrase them in a way that is measurable. An example for that is gonna book the tickets. I'm gonna book 3 tickets to Hawaii on Tuesday. It's specific, it's measurable, It's achievable because people do that kind of thing all the time. My mom was a travel agent. She could tell you people book tickets to Hawaii. Um, it is uh, relevant, particularly, if that's what you want, then it works towards this big goal that you have a lot of ado about, then you know that you're headed in the right direction. So it's built in relevancy as well. And it's time bound because you were specific about the time that you created this. And really, you could cut out relatable and specific and just use MAT here: measurable, achievable, and time bound. There is an activity that I like to share with my clients to make this easy. And what I like to use is sticky notes. However, I also personally use Trello for this. And Trello is a free website. You can use it to create, it's called a Kanban or a Kanban? Kanban, sure. Why not? I think it's called a Kanban. It's just a fancy way of saying how do you organize projects. With it, you create a card. That card has different layers, and in those each of those layers you can have checklists. I love that system because it's built in and it's not messy. However, when you're first starting out with this, it's really a good idea to use something physical that you can tangibly move around, like a post-it note. So what you want to do is you want to gather a couple of post-it notes, stacks of post-it notes. You want a small stack, relatively, of large colored post-it notes that you can read when you write on them. um, you don't have to have too many of these because those are going to be your guiding star post-it notes. So you're probably not going to be working actively on more than 2 or 3 goals in your life. You're probably going to be actively working on 2 or 3, right? You're probably thinking, I want to save money and I want to go on a trip. Um, so those are the lists that go on that first color post-it note. Those are your guiding stars. Okay. Next, you're going to take another color of sticky note. It's important to have a different color because it helps us differentiate the difference between the milestones and the big activities. And also on those guiding stars, it's really helpful if you write your ado on there. If you write your achievement, your desire, and your opportunity out on the back of the post-it note or on the side of the post-it note, however you want to do it. The next layer of post-it notes is your milestones. With these, use a different color. It can be a different size if you want. These is a brainstorming activity. So you're going to write down all of the steps that you could foresee potentially being needed in order to get to this guiding star, right? So when you're doing this, forget forget the word no, just write. Write as many as possible. So it's really helpful to have a large quantity of the second color of post-it notes. When you're doing this, just avoid the word no, avoid telling yourself that, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Avoid second guessing yourself. If it crosses your mind, put it on paper. The paper can be thrown away later if it doesn't make any sense later. Then, once you're done with that, you can organize it in order of what's logical at this time, from what you need to accomplish first to what you need to accomplish last. You don't need to be too particular about the order because it's post-it notes and you can go back and change it at any time. Don't be precious about it. And just really remember to make it make sense to you right now, right? Give yourself permission to change it later. And then you can take and stack all of those notes on top of each other. So you start with your guiding star note on the bottom, and on each of your notes, you're going to layer up from the last thing that you're going to do all the way up to the very first milestone that you have. It probably won't be that high. Hopefully it's not that high. If it's that high, maybe a more reasonable goal is a good starting point. And also don't get too granular here. Make your milestones make sense. Give yourself a good week to accomplish those milestones. Those milestones, at least a week, maybe two, maybe four. I wouldn't go too much beyond four when you're doing milestones. Just my personal recommendation. I would stick to between 2 and 4 weeks. That's kind of the ideal. So when you're thinking about what you need to do, you can sort of think, well, what can I accomplish in 3 weeks? Well, I could definitely book a hotel within 3 weeks. I could definitely book flights within 3 weeks. Well, maybe I can group those two together and say I'm just going to book travel arrangements. And you can see how, while you're doing this, you're slowly building all of the smart stuff in because you're making it measurable and you're making it time bound and you're deciding how you're going to do it. It's really useful if you have a board or a wall or someplace where you can stick that stack of notes. Hopefully hopefully you don't have too many notes to stick, but hopefully the notes are sticky enough to stick to a wall. And those will be a constant reminder of what you're currently working on. Because they're stacked up like that, you're only ever going to be working on the next milestone. You don't need to get distracted by milestone 6, milestone 8, milestone 10. You don't even need to number them. And when you're done with one, you want to take time to celebrate it. Now, I would go through at this point and decide how paced they are, how accountable they are, how celebrated they are. And this is where you would start weeding out things you don't need or combining them, replacing a set of 3 things with one, if it makes more sense from a milestone perspective. Finally, the next thing to do is to get a stack. I love the list sticky notes, the ones that are larger, that have lines on them. You one sheet of those slap to the bottom of your list of goals, right below the current milestone that you're working on, listing out each individual step that you're going to take to accomplish that milestone. If you do that, you've set SMART goals. You've also set layered goals. And one other thing, there are a couple of points that I would like to suggest. And by the way, that third set of notes, that's kind of optional, to be honest. You could also use a piece of paper, a checklist or something, because that's the list that's going to change the most often. You're going to be crossing things off of it and things like that. But I do have a couple of notes here. When you're doing this, one thing you can do is to add placeholder notes in for even more significant milestones. Okay, if you want to get really fancy about it, if this is a really big thing, launching a business is a good example of this. Having check-in notes put in there to see how relevant the next steps are, just as a reminder to thumb through the remaining steps, to thumb through the remaining milestones, and to re-review your guiding stars as well as the ado to make sure that they're still relevant to your life are really important. And the reason for that is that life happens and life changes. And sometimes what we think we want in January isn't what we want in February. And that's okay. These are consciously set goals. You're consciously setting them, and this is a structure that needs to work for you. If it doesn't work for you, it's not going to work at all. There's no point in doing it. So when you're doing this, if you put those notes in for check-in, just those are reminders to re-review your ado and see if it's still something that you want to achieve, desire, and it's something that's going to build opportunity for you. A good example of this is, let's say you're planning that vacation to Hawaii in June of 2024, and you discover, and you starting this goal today. And in September, you discover you're pregnant. Now you might not want to go to Hawaii in June. That would be kind of the worst time of year possible, because it's literally 9 months later, and you're probably have just given birth to a newborn. You probably don't want that goal anymore. So, what do you do at that point when a goal is no longer desirable, when it no longer helps you achieve something and it's no longer the opportunity you once had? Well, you can consciously change your goals, and it is okay to do it. You have my permission, but most importantly, you need to give yourself permission. And that can be very difficult to do. If you consciously make your change of your goals to something else, I want to have a nursery built instead. And now I have 9 months to do it. That is a much better result than letting your goals die because life happened. And the reason for that is that your brain naturally tracks these things and rewards you with hormones all the time to tell you when you've done a good job. And you are setting yourself up for failure if you don't, in my opinion. I would always focus on the top line of your milestone, what the next milestone is. That's the other piece here. Peel off those layers as you accomplish them. Don't get distracted by the future milestones. And that should help if you have difficulty focusing on current goals or current efforts. Goal setting can seem very difficult, and I know that I've heard a lot of people proudly declare that they just don't do New Year's resolutions because they don't work or because they are somehow harmful. But the reason they don't work is because there's no structure to them. And I hope that this provides a structure for those big goals so that your dreams are more attainable and so that you feel successful on the road towards your dreams. If you want help setting up success for yourself with your goals this year, you can always check out my coaching services at https://connorscoaching.com. And there's a link for that in the description for this video if you're interested. The first session is free. Just book a 1-hour appointment using the booking page. And I would love to talk to you about goal setting. Thank you so much for watching. And literally would not be doing this without you. So since you stuck around this long, it would do me a great favor if you took a moment to subscribe to the channel. And in order to do that, you have to be at a PC or on a smart device logged into the app, and log in, and then you can hit the subscribe button, the like notification, the notification bell, and you can also leave a comment about what you're inspired to do based off of our video today. Next week, we'll be bringing you more life coaching content live at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesday, January 11th, and I will see you then. Bye.